Everything you need to know in less than 5 minutes. Crit items are currently incredibly strong, so Yasuo is naturally in a good spot as well, since the champion is designed to function with ADC items rather than with more traditional bruiser builds. When you have 1 or 2 crit items, your passive increases the gold value you get from critical strike by 92% without Infinity Edge and by 102% with Infinity Edge, which makes crit itemization remarkably efficient. Additionally, the cooldown of your most important spell Q does not scale with ability haste but with attack speed instead, which can be found on most ADC items as well. You max Q first, E second, and your wind wall already does everything it needs to do at 1 skill point. Yasuo's Q is essentially just a glorified auto attack, and you should use it as such in close combat and between your right clicks. Your Q also heavily dictates your trading and engage patterns, as you cannot hold onto your fully stacked Q forever. Note that a skilled opponent will keep track of your Q stacks and try to punish you while you don't have access to your knockup. Of course, it is technically optimal to have your tornado ready when your jungler comes in for a gank. However, if you notice that the enemy laner is overly aggressive each time your tornado goes on cooldown, you can purposefully waste it to bait the enemy into overextending and give your jungler a free kill. In situations where you know that your team will come out ahead, you should also not risk missing your tornado skill shot, but instead combo Q with your dash to get your knockup guaranteed. The value you get from your W is highly matchup dependent, as it can completely shut down projectile-based champions during all-ins, while at the same time being completely useless against pure melee fighters. Therefore, Yasuo can be a strong counterpick into ranged team compositions, but you should not pick him when the enemy team only consists of tanks and bruisers. Unless you want to be a Yasuo one-trick of course and pick him every game no matter what. Your E-spell has this rather unique property that its cooldown is not applied on cast, but instead your dash has an individual cooldown for every individual enemy on the map. This makes you very strong and mobile when surrounded by enemy minions, as you can dash to each minion in rapid succession and quickly close the gap to get on top of the enemy champion. Obviously, when you dash through a minion in order to engage, you cannot use the same minion to dash out and disengage. Therefore, this spell allows for a lot of skill expression, as you either must be 100% confident that a fight will be in your favor beforehand, or you have to intentionally save some of the enemy minions for later escape paths. Additionally, keep in mind that the dash distance is fixed and does not depend on your distance to your target. This means you can use jungle monsters, as they are positioned next to terrain, to dash through the walls behind them. Depending on how good your positioning is, you might also be able to pull this off on enemy champions mid-combat if you need to. Your ultimate is another reason why Yasuo tends to be a rather situational pick, as this spell makes him more viable in some team compositions than in others. Yes, your fully stacked Q allows you to enable your ultimate all by yourself, but if you have teammates such as Alistar or Malphite that can easily and consistently score multiple knockups in teamfights, Yasuo will be significantly stronger. As you can see from his moveset, Yasuo thrives on creating and capitalizing on opportunities for hard-committed all-in fights, which makes him somewhat of a bruiser-assassin hybrid. Due to that, your optimal rune page is Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, and Coup de Grace, with Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter secondary. Your shards are attack speed, adaptive force, and either magic resist or armor depending on your lane opponent. Due to being a melee champion with high attack speed, you will stack Conqueror extremely quickly, which gives you crazy potential in teamfights even when you've already used your initial burst damage. If you however find yourself in a lane matchup that makes you uncomfortable, you can also press the like button and pick the Keystone Fleet Footwork to boost your early game. Triumph allows you to take more duels that you otherwise couldn't, especially because you will be fighting in enemy minion waves a lot, which means without this rune you would risk dying to minion aggro even if you beat your lane opponent first. Alacrity is needed for obvious synergies with your Q, and your healing runes make you more durable in and outside of lane phase respectively. Lifesteal and other forms of survivability are actually quite crucial to Yasuo, as melee champions are highly susceptible to poke damage. Therefore you go Berserker's Greaves into Immortal Shieldbow every game, and then round out your core build with Infinity Edge. Berserker's Greaves are not just important for your Q cooldown, but your dash speed on your E-spell also depends on Yasuo's movement speed, which makes finishing boots as early as possible absolutely mandatory. At 2 crit items you get maximum value from your passive, which puts you at 100% critical strike chance, fully unlocking the armor penetration on your ultimate. Since Yasuo converts excess critical strike chance into bonus attack damage at a somewhat reasonable rate, you don't get punished too hard for buying more crit items afterwards. Therefore, buying items like Lord Dominic's Regards or Mortal Reminder is viable if you need their passives, but generally speaking you are better off getting bruiser items at this point. Of course you want to increase your assassination potential, but for a melee champion the extra survivability from Guardian Angel or Wit's End will allow you to stay in combat for longer without going down, which logically also leads to dealing more damage. Now, if you found that video helpful, you can access an entire playlist of educational content like this by clicking the link on your screen right there.